This video will run through some key problems for the test over Unit 5. So first of all, remember, if your directions are ever to simplify, simplify means to take it down to the smallest, most compact, most reduced form. So if you have a number like 27, you need to rewrite that as 3 cubed. You need to boil everything down as small as you can, with everything, all the roots taken out, all the negative exponents, denominators rationalized, all of those pieces. So that's our broadest instruction. So when we're faced with a big problem like this one, first thing I check for are there any exponents outside of those parentheses? If there are, I have to take care of this piece first. And remember that exponent rule, power to a power, I have to distribute all of that. So I'm going to have 4a to the 4th b to the minus 3, 2 squared a to the minus 2, power to a power, b squared, all over 6a to the minus 3, b to the 4th. Now this is where you have a choice. I can go ahead and clean up my numerator, add the exponents of the like bases, multiply that 4 and that 2 squared, or I could start canceling. But I'm going to go ahead and just clean up my numerator first because it makes it a little easier. So 2 squared is 4 times 4 is 16. A to the 4th plus times a to the negative 2 means I add my exponent, so that gives me a squared. B to the negative 3 times b squared, add my exponents, b to the minus 1, and that's still all over 6a to the negative 3, b to the 4th. Now again, you have a choice. You can practice the please move me bit, or you can subtract. I'm going to go ahead and say please move me with those two items, and that's going to give me 16a squared a cubed all over 6b to the 4th b to the 1st. Remember, I'm only moving what that negative exponent is on, so in this case it's only on the b, and as soon as I move it, I take that negative sign off. Now I have to go ahead again and combine anything. I'm going to go ahead and cancel here also. I have a common factor of 2. And so I'm going to have 8a to the 5th over 3b to the 5th. And that is my most reduced simple answer. Now when I go on to handle things in scientific notation, these really are no different than the problem I just did. You're going to go ahead and do the division of those two numbers, and when I divide those two numbers I get 4.5. When I'm dividing powers, I subtract, so this becomes 10 to the 5 minus 3 power, which is times 10 squared. I take a quick look. Is the number in front of my 10 between 1 and 10? If it is, we're good, and that is my final answer. Over here, same process. This is straight multiplication. This is not distributive property. Notice there's no plus or minus right here. So I take whole number times whole number, and that gives me 27.3. When I'm multiplying like bases, I add my exponents. I have 10 to the minus 4, 2 plus negative 6. I have a problem here though, because this is not a number between 1 and 10. So what I need to do at this point is I need to go ahead and I need to fix this so that it's a number between 1 and 10. So the way we do that is we are going to move the decimal point 1 point. So that's going to become 2.73 times 10 to the 1st, because I moved it one place, times 10 to the negative 3. Now I go ahead and combine my powers of 10, so I have 2.73 times 10 to the minus 2. and that is your exact scientific notation. Be careful with there. Now, this problem down here, again, notice this is not a distributive property problem. This is a combined like terms problem where I'm just going to go ahead and add. As soon as I see there's no number out front here that needs to be distributed, there's no minus sign, this is a straight up addition problem. So you add your x squared items, 4x squared minus x, positive 4x gives me positive 3x, positive 2, and negative 9 gives me minus 7. Then we should always go ahead and take a quick peek if this can be factored. So do the factors of 1 and 4, 2 and 2, combine with the factors of 7 under plus minus to make 3. And in fact, they will right there. So 2 parentheses plus minus an x in each one. And I want to take 1 times 7 and 4 times 1 and subtract them, with my 7 being positive. So I have to figure out where to put my 7 and my point so that my 3 is positive. So my 7 has to be the back number. Here's 7, which gets multiplied to a 1. And my 4 has to be with the x, and it has to get multiplied by a 1. So when I check my inside terms, I have 7x. My outside terms, I have negative 4x, and that will make positive 3x. Take a quick check of your first 2 terms, 4x squared, and your last 2 terms are minus 7. So this right here is your final simplified answer. Now in this case, I have this negative, which we know we're going to change to a positive with a minus 1 to be distributed. So I have 6y squared plus 5y minus 1 times 7y. So minus 1 times 7y gives me that minus 7y minus 1 times minus 5 gives me that positive 5. When you have the subtraction here, go ahead and change it to add the opposite before you get going. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine like terms. Do I have any other y squared things? No. So I have 6y squared. I have 2y's. I have 5y minus negative 7y, which is going to leave me minus 2y. And I have a positive 5. Again, take a peek. 1 and 6, 2 and 3, 1 and 5. Will those combine under minus minus to make 2? So 1 times 1 and 6 times 5, too big. 1 times 5, 6 times 1, too small. That gives me 1. 2 times 1 and 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 1 and 2 times 5 is 10. This cannot be factored, and so this is my simplest form. The problems I have at the bottom here are distributive problems. So I'm going to take the 4b times each of the terms. So I have 4cb squared minus 20b squared. And that's as simple as you can take it. This is a FOIL problem. So I'm going to go ahead and take my first 2 terms times each other. 3t squared. Outside terms, minus 27t. Inside terms, plus 5t. And my last terms, minus 45. So I have 3t squared minus 22t minus 45. And that is as simple as we can take it. Obviously, if we factor this again, we'll end up back where we started. So you don't want to do that. The problems here, we're going to go back to our division, and you can use either synthetic or regular division. And remember, with synthetic division, that one was the easiest. we do the opposite sign in our little bracket. Now, we also said we have to make sure that we have every variable accounted for, and in this case we are missing c cubed and c squared, and so we don't want to change our problem, and so we're going to think about inserting a 0 3 cubed and a 0 c squared, and we have our constant. So when we go and put our first terms down, our coefficients, we have 3, 5, 0, 0, 1, and 5, because remember there's a 1 here. We draw our line. The first term comes down. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. And then remember we're adding in synthetic. So 5 plus negative 1, or negative 6 is negative 1. Negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. 0 plus 2 is 2. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. Add negative 4. Negative 2 times negative 4 is 8. Add gives me 9. Negative 2 times 9 is negative 18. Add negative 13. Now remember, you start in the back, so this becomes your remainder. This is your constant. This is your x term, your x squared term, your x cubed term, and your x to the 4th term. And remember, you should always be one less than what you started with. So that's how you know if you're right or not. So my answer becomes 3x to the 4th minus x cubed plus 2x squared minus 4x plus 9c plus negative 13 over c plus 2. And remember, you go ahead and make a fraction with this as the denominator, just like you would in old-fashioned division, and that is your answer. Go ahead and turn into part 2 of this video for the rest of the problems.